I mean, it's unbelievable. It just wouldn't make sense if you try to make it sense. And so I keep saying to myself, how could it happen? Why does it happen? And why does it happen to Thai men? And I'm having great trouble in understanding this. What is the interest that a civil servant can have in behaving in this way? What was pushing it that this would happen? Why could it go on happening for such a long time? I want to understand motives far more and the fitting together of the system, a system which on paper looks so good and yet has been feeding this terrible corruption.
I think it's a blemish on what is a very fine system of justice in Taiwan. The role of government, the role of tax authorities, the role of prosecutors, their role is not to seize property, okay? Their role is not to prosecute people. That may be what they do, but that's not their role. What is their role then? Their role is to seek justice. Their role is to follow the rule of law. And in this case, in the太极门case, it's been determined that the taxes that have attempted to be collected are improper. And this is disturbing because the continuation and the perpetuation of an injustice is as bad as the commitment of that injustice in the first place. And that is what's happening here in the太极门tax case. In any court around the world, including in the United States and certainly in Taiwan, if there's been an error, we don't adhere to that error. We don't say, okay, fine, there's been an error, but too bad. If we find new DNA evidence, for example, that confirms that someone who has been prosecuted and convicted, and the appeals have gone all the way even to the Supreme Court, if later evidence shows that that person didn't do that, didn't commit that crime, we don't keep that person in jail. Why? Because we're not here to prosecute or persecute people. We're here to seek justice. And if justice from information that comes and is learned afterwards shows that a prior ruling, a prior conviction, a prior tax assessment was wrong, then it should be corrected. That is precisely the case in the太极门tax case. And it is inconceivable to me that there's even a discussion about 1992 because the situation and circumstances there were no different than they were for the other years in which there's been a negotiation down to zero of the tax liability. And the world is watching. People are watching how this case is going to be handled. And I encourage all of the decision makers to put a stop to this, to not seize any property and not perpetuate an injustice that has gone on for 24 years.
They have been taught never to compromise, whatever the price to pay. Integrity, dignity, respect, compassion, love, and peace are at the heart of their values and of their lives. But some people and institutions have shamelessly violated their human rights to justice. The DC are the best ambassadors of太极门teachings to the outside world because they are the living testimonies that their spiritual values can regenerate individuals and society. This is a major contribution of太极门to the spread of human rights in Taiwan. This is also a precious asset for the Taiwanese society and the image of the country abroad. But the National Taxation Bureau and its ally, Prosecutor Hu, nicknamed the Judicial Rambo, stubbornly remain deaf to their call for justice.
Non-governmental organizations in consultative status with the United Nations have been concerned with the Taiji Men Qigong Academy case, even if Taiwan is not a member of the United Nations. The Taiji Men case has two aspects. One, of the defense of religious and spiritual liberty, and two, the fair and transparent tax procedures. Taiji Men has been very active in cultural exchanges with other countries, so that many people have learned of the rich cultural life and heritage of Taiwan. The Taiji Men issue has been much discussed in Taiwan, in the media, in the parliament, in law courts, and in public hearings. The issues are clear, and we appeal that the tax issue can be settled in a just and open way as quickly as possible.
They claim that for 1992, the appeal terms had expired. But of course, there is no appeal term when decisions are grossly unjust. They can always be revised. In conclusion, what is happening now? Now the tax office is insisting with its bill for 1992 and threatens to seize properties of Taiji Men and auction them, which will cause enormous harm to Taiji Men and to freedom of belief. It's not about money. Taiji Men has spent more in legal expenses than what will pay if they paid the tax bill for 92. It's about principle. They didn't commit any wrongdoing, and they don't want to admit this. It will be false.
The ongoing case involving Taiji Men is unacceptable, to say the least, generally speaking, and also very difficult to understand from a legal, purely legal point of view. For instance, basing on the legal principle of estoppel, it should not be argued or asserted that Taiji Men have to pay taxes for the disputed year 1992, as there should be no dispute at all.
L'affaire Taiji Men a révélé les failles fondamentales de l'État, de droit et la façon dont le pouvoir de l'État a été détourné ou même abusé. Les représentants du gouvernement ont violé de nombreuses dispositions de procédure régulière dans l'affaire Taiji Men. Taïwan a gagné la sympathie de nombreux pays et organisations dans le monde pour la défense des droits démocratiques en Asie de l'Est et la gestion transparente et efficace de la crise du Covid-19. Il est grand temps que cette vieille situation soit résolue en garantissant aux membres de Taiji Men leurs droits humains et leur dignité et leur liberté de religion.
Certainly, it is not a transparent one, apparently, which is bad news for economy as a whole. Bad news is that the Revenue Service revealed itself in that occasion as an instrument of the executive power to carry out a persecution against a legitimate spiritual movement. However, the administrative inertia, of course, so to say, still left alive some claims by the Revenue Service concerning exactly the same violation which was declared inexistent by the court. You shouldn't admit a fault on your side. I strongly encourage you to fight against this persecution.
I think that we should all stand by Taiji Men because, again, as the video brilliantly said, the battle of Taiji Men is the battle for the most important, most essential human right, religious freedom, is the battle for freedom, is the battle for liberty, is the battle for justice. It is the battle for equal treatment of all before the law.